And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the East versus West. Is that middleweight? I even forgot. But 95 kg East versus West world champion, Mr. Paul Linn. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I just got to get my phone set up. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm a
not a
little
problem.
late and everything. I don't like that.
So, guys, 11 of you have already joined. Today's topics will be about East versus West. We will briefly try to discuss and maybe even predict all of the matches that are going to happen on May 6th. And the pay per view link for $17 is in the description of this video. Paul Lynn's YouTube channel is pinned at the top of the chat. Please go there and subscribe as well. That would be a little token of respect for our guest because he's so humble. Like, you just literally have to message him to go live, and he says yes. Thanks, brother.
Nothing better to do, buddy. Nothing better than to talk about some arm wrestling. Let's do it.
Yeah. So first thing, Paul, East versus West. Like, how big is the event getting? I was just checking the website. I checked it out after a long time, and man, they have seriously done some great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, every one of them gets better. Like, you can say what you want about the athletes on the card or the matchups. Like, that's all subjective. But the event itself gets more and more seamless every iteration. And I've been at three now, and every one has been better than the last. So I think, it's a trial and error process, and it's a lessons learned thing. And I think everyone that we have is going to get that much better.
Yeah. Guys, I would like to quickly show you what the event has to offer, what East versus West has to offer. So let's check out the website. And I have not linked the website in the description. You just need to type East versus West, and this website will show up on top. So Larun has done a good job with the
Oh,
search
Soul
engine
does all that.
optimization.
Soul does all of that.
Yeah, he does that.
That's awesome. He's
That's
the
awesome.
man.
So about 22 days, 22 hours, 15 minutes remaining. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow Instagram, and these are the matches displayed here. East versus West shop. Like, these cards, like, I in India, people are not really big into buying these collectibles. So what is the value of these cards that you would explain to the viewers? Like, how much
So
do they value in your opinion?
the whole set is $150, right?
Yeah.
Like, I actually have mine right here. Like, it comes in like Engen goes all out. It comes in a wooden box. They're all signed. Like, and they're not like your normal like paper cards. They're like credit card stock.
Yeah.
So I mean, for collectors, the value is based off of perceived value, right? So if Engen releases 150 sets, then that means that's the limited quantity, and he's not re-releasing old cards. So like when you talk about like baseball cards, football cards, things Pokemon cards, like my kid loves, there's so many of them out there that even with thousands of them in circulation, there's certain cards that have perceived values that are astronomical. To quantify it in arm wrestling, I think Engen is putting out about the right amount, right? So like if you look at like the amount of fans per capita, it's all based off the demand. But what I can say is the last event that I went to, like, I think he did his best, and we did our best as athletes to promote these as an option to buy. But after the event, and like when I started making posts about the cards when they were already sold out, like when we were signing them, I felt like there was an outpour of like, where can I get these? And it was, and I had to tell all my friends and family, like, oh, it's too late, sorry, and I'm not giving you mine. So, so yeah, it's to me, I don't know how to put a dollar value, but when you look at the guys that are legends in the sport, right? Your John Brzezinks, your Devins, your Dennis's, your LeBrons, like these guys are going to go down in history. So who knows what the value is going to be down the road? But I can say that the quality is going to last basically forever. And that for me personally, like I got mine right here on my work day. I value it a lot. I wouldn't sell it to anybody. So yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's the next step for like really making the sport itself professional.
Yeah. And I think the last time Engin sent it to me as a gift. Like I thought I missed out on it, and Engin sent it to me as a gift. So that is a big gift. And this time I took such a hard stance against Engin on this live stream commentary issue. As like I was talking with myself, man, I'm not expecting any gift this time. So I bought
Yeah.
it. I bought it this time.
Oh yeah. That's good. Hey, that's good. But see, listen, if it's one thing, like everybody can have their opinions on that topic, But at the end of the day, if you're willing to spend your own money on something, you're supporting it, and you have good intentions. So regardless of the perception and everything, at least you have the goodness in your heart to go ahead and support us in that fashion. So hats off to you. And
Yeah,
these cards, this series looks a little bit different. I'm assuming Soul probably did all the images. It
yeah,
looks like these cards this round are going to be like the headshot cards rather than like the action shots. So like it's
yeah.
every event it's going to seems like there's going to be a different format, a different series. So it's like going to be a whole nother set, which is pretty cool. And I know Angin's putting a lot of hard work and thought into updating people's stats as their results change.
Yeah, these are the cards, guys. You can purchase it, and if one day when your son grows up and he tells you that you're just an average dad, you do not have any assets saved for
Yeah,
me, then tell him that these are the assets. Go sell them if you're not interested in arm wrestling.
yeah, you got something that's worth at least $3.99. You'll be good.
Yeah, East versus West card. So there you have it. And the event, we'll talk about the events, Paul. But there are T-shirts. I think this time as well, and
Yep.
table
We
posters.
got Yeah, where we got signed T-shirts and signed posters. I don't know about the quantity. I think we did. I think last time we did like some tabletops and some other cool things. But I tell you what, that is a long, grueling task to sign everything. I mean, it's a blessing. I mean, to be in a scenario where somebody is actually interested in your autograph. But I tell you what, signing all that stuff is a challenge.
Yeah. So I was once suggesting Engin like many months ago that maybe you should ask all of the athletes what is the minimum amount of cards that you can sign. Oh, not minimum, but is the maximum amount of cards that you can sign. He can ask that to all of the athletes, and whatever is the lowest number, that should be kept. That should be kept as the number to sign cards.
Well, there's always going to be somebody who's super lazy and doesn't want to, once they get into it and they realize how daunting the task is, they're like, this is for the birds. But I tell you, once you get into a rhythm, I tell you, guess who when we sat in a room and sign them, Dennis Saplinkov is the fastest autographer I've ever seen. And I thought I was moving, like me and Doug were trying to compete against each other, and Dennis was done when we were halfway through. It was crazy. It was crazy. So it can be done. I mean, at the end of the day, that spending a couple hours signing things, I mean, we should be counting our blessings, to
Yeah.
help grow the sport. So, I mean, we're there for a couple days anyway. We got plenty of time.
And great content comes out from that table when athletes are signing cards. Engin make sure that he always points the camera at the athletes when they're signing the cards, and always some great viral content always comes out from that room.
Oh, there should be cameras rolling at all times because that's when everybody's cutting up, you know. You know what, actually, here, let me show you this too. You got me moving around today. This,
So guys, signed T-shirt is $100. Signed tabletop is $200. And I think that's a
I
great
got,
way to support. Yeah,
I got my poster too. Talk about another. I just got it framed, but like this ain't just like a poster. It's on like it's almost like a backdrop quality. Like it's like to me this is like I love the cards, but this thing's awesome, And when you talk about like what you're paying for it, it's really not that much. So I mean, I hope he promos us some posters too for this event, but
hmm,
we'll see. I don't know how many he's having done, but those are awesome, man. And that was the East versus West 5 card where all the legends were there. So I'm
I
holding
think
that one near and
the,
dear.
the speed at which Engin is launching these awesome products, he's at some point of time he's going to turn all of us into like Michael Todd, who just loves collecting these posters and like anything everything related to arm wrestling.
Well, it's so cool. I did like when I first started my career, I was at a tournament every weekend or every other weekend, pulling every class I could. I don't know how many medals and trophies I have because they're all in a box collecting cobwebs somewhere because I didn't care because it's the perceived value. There's only a few things that I keep, that are value to me. And to me, these things are on a whole nother level. Like we didn't necessarily win those cards or win, maybe their participation awards, but they're so cool and so high quality that I actually want to display them. So like I've only got a handful of trophies that I even acknowledge exist, and most of the stuff is coming from East versus West. I mean, this is the thing. These are the only things I got sitting out on my desk. This is the medal from East versus West. You're talking about. I mean, this is something you might see Flavor Flav wear. I mean, it's solid metal. It's awesome. Everything he's doing, he's really going above and beyond.
Yeah. And guys, now we'll talk about the matches, but before that, let me show you the timings of East versus West in case you have not decided yet to purchase the pay-per-view. The event timings across the globe: 8 p.m. Turkish time, GMT 5 p.m., Pacific time 9 a.m., Gulf time 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time, if you're from India, is going to be 10:30 p.m. CST, 6 p.m., and Eastern Standard Time 12 p.m. So let's move on to the matches now, Paul. I think serially these matches are mentioned serially on the website, so we have them in order. Let's discuss first. So the first match. Do you know what the first match is? If just to make sure, you're for sure not the first match.
I do not know the final order.
Yeah, I think this is the first match that is displayed on the website. So Bacho Saginashvili versus Adam Warzinski. Like Georgian camps, like first of all, a strict hard question: can the Georgian camp be trusted when they are giving feedback about a Georgian?
I mean, when I talk to those guys personally, they're very honest, and I mean, like I've got to hang out with them a lot. I love those dudes. But like Zurad, I mean, like he's an honest guy. I don't think they would mislead us in any way. They are very loyal, but this match is such an unknown because Bacho is 18 years old, and I watched Adam Warzinski's podcast on Ray's channel on Voice of Arm Wrestling. If you haven't caught that, if you don't know Adam Warzinski, just go watch that thing. He's just a stand-up guy. He's just like awesome in every way as a human. But he talked about like his perspective on the match, and just like Ray asked him, "Are you confident?" And he's like, "Well, how am I really even supposed to be?" That's what I took away from it. Like it's so much of an unknown that what do you do when you have unknowns? Do you choose to be confident, or do you choose to like err on the side of caution? And I think it's almost a trap match for Adam. I think we could see Adam come out and be very dominant based off of his experience and age and development. But then there's this outside chance that the last name Saginashvili just comes with like ungodly power that we can't even conceive. But there's not much out there on Bacho except for junior stuff. Not much very recent as far as arm wrestling goes. A lot of impressive gym lift stuff. But I have a hard time not favoring Adam just because he's a known quantity. But there is that outside chance that Bacho could come in here and be everything that he's billed as the second coming of John Brzezinski. So we'll see. It's a tough one to pick, but I mean, if I'm picking it, I'm always going with the known quantity.
Yeah, and this match is at 95 kilos, if I'm correct, right?
Yep. So I don't know what Bacho walks around at, but that's pretty much Adam's walk around. So he's going to have the luxury of being able to eat over there. So he's not concerning himself with that. But Adam's another one of Engen's done a really good job of when he's bringing guys over from the West, he's going after the most professional of the guys that we have. Now there's others out there that fit that bill too, but the guys that he's got coming over are very professional, and Adam's going to come over, his whole camp and preparation has been very impressive the way he approaches it. So he's going to come over there, and we're going to see the best form of Adam that we can expect to see since the previous match.
Mm-hmm. Ankur Banerjee, member of the channel. Hey Pradeep and Paul, always good to see some arm wrestling talks. Thanks, Ankur. Have you ever practiced with Adam?
No. He's originally from Pennsylvania, but when he left for college and everything, which was probably 6 years ago, so I've only ever met him in Turkey. So he's down, I think, in North Carolina now. I want it's North or South Carolina. He trains with Chad Silvers. Great team, great coach. They're very team oriented, which is important.
Mhm. So last time Adam was the underdog. This time he is the favorite in many people's eyes, but the Georgian camp is not underestimating Bacho. They're basically saying that he can beat anyone in the world at 95 kilos, which seems to be like really doubtful because we have the White Orc, the champion, like sitting right there. So maybe Paul, like if one guy dominates the other in 95 kilos, maybe we have a potential opponent for you in the future.
Maybe we'll see. I mean, everything hinges off of my match with Sasha, and if I can pull the upset there. Who knows what happens if I can't? You never know. Adam even talked about, like, it kind of came up, like, where Ray was like, what do you want to do? What's your goals? And he's such a top-notch guy. He's like, I'm not saying I want the 95 kilo title because it's already held by an American. I just want the next guy that's going to take me to my next level, which is just stand up. And, like, people in the United States have been asking for that match between he and I for a while. But both of us kind of talk like, we're kind of doing this over here. And right now we're competing, alongside each other rather than against each other. I'm sure sooner or later a promoter is going to make it make sense or something, or, maybe I lose and then it's Adam's opportunity, or maybe I don't lose and it's Adam's opportunity anyway. It's really up to the promoter to make it make sense. But I think both of us are kind of enjoying supporting each other rather than going against each other. But no, I mean, I think Adam wins this, and he really has to be really in the discussion. I know Angan will probably put out some other form of rankings. He's kind of has like pyramid rankings and everything. I'm sure we'll see him jump up significantly if he wins here. But then we also got RBJ back in the mix at 95 too. So there's like three 95-kilogram matches on this card, which is nice. I like to see it. It's a middleweight to love.
Yeah. And Paul, I know that I'm not from US or I'm from East, but I'm not from any of those European countries that are competing there. So for me, it is difficult to have that kind of friendship or patriotic feelings involved in this match. But man, I really, really hope that these things end soon. Like, I'm not going to compete against a Western guy just because I'm from West. A West guy has a 95 kilos title, so I don't want that. Like, when the sport gets big money gets involved, these things will be thrown away immediately, I think.
Absolutely. And that's really what it is. And I think that's the point. It wasn't like neither of us are saying we don't want to compete against each other. It's just really nice to now be competing outside of the US along with Americans under the American banner or the West banner. It's a thing that I've never experienced, because prior to all this, I mean, all it was North American rankings. So of course we're all chasing each other or waiting for a promoter to give us a match. But now at this juncture, there's just not really any North American promotions that have popped up yet that are saying, hey, we're going to really make this worth your while. Because the reality of it is when you're choosing what you're going to do and, what your dates are for the year, you have to keep in mind, hey, if East versus West is the thing that I'm worried most about, I have to make sure that my schedule aligns with that primarily, But yeah, I think you're right. As the sport continues to grow, there's going to be more opportunities and there'll be more matches.
Yeah. And looks like the 95 kg class is going to be just like the 105 class. That is like really stacked. We have these two guys. We have Paul, Zorab, Sasho, Rustam is probably going to come back. Many killers in that weight category. One of the best at East versus West and in the world. And about Bacho, Engin said that when he was 14 years old, he saw him and he was like beating seniors on the side table. So that was really impressive. But he was asked on a podcast by Engin about his like if he's really a cousin of Levan, and he didn't say yes. Like, he gave a confusing answer to that, but no, he's not the cousin of Levan Saginashvili. They say that Georgia, like, they have very few Saginashvilis out there, so somehow somewhere everyone is like kind of related to everyone and they don't even know about that. So that's the kind of relationship there.
Yeah, I can see that. I think there was some rumors that there was questions to Levan if that was his cousin, and he wasn't like open about it. And then I believe Levon then later on reached out to Anga and said, "Are you gonna give my cousin a match?" So, I don't know. There's not many Linn spelled the way I spell it either. So if I meet another one, I assume we're somehow distantly related.
You know, the first instance when the world kind of got to know about Bacho, I was just casually watching Engin's podcast with Levan, and he was asked about. I think Matt had a match with Sandres at that point. Yeah, so Levan was predicting, and out of nowhere, like his name was not even brought up. Engin was like, "What do you think about Matt Mask versus Sandres?" And Levan was like, "You know, Engin, even my 19-year-old cousin can beat Matt Mask." That's how bad he basically is.
Oh man.
Then I made a video
Yeah,
about it. I think it got like maybe 15, 20,000 views. Then I interviewed Matt. Matt responded to that, so that got like 30 plus thousand views. So that's
yeah.
where I think that Bachos Agir actually kind of rose to
Let,
fame.
let, let the hype begin, right?
Yeah, it doesn't take much these days to hype up an opponent. So I think we're both going with Adam Warzinski in this one.
Yeah. Known quantity.
Yeah, and this match, your buddy, I'm the biggest fan of Doug Ehrlich. You already know that. So Doug Ehrlich versus
Oh, no,
Daniel.
you bought the cards just because you wanted Doug's card. I know you told me.
Yeah.
You said I got it. I'm gonna pay for these cards because I need a Doug Ehrlich card. I don't blame you. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have one too.
To be honest, I was really impressed by his response, like on Engin's podcast. Direct to the point answers, doesn't like to circle around things, and honest opinion on almost everything. And that's a rare these days. I was really impressed by Doug in that podcast. And Daniel Prokopchuk was, he was like, I think Doug was saying I can take your wrist, and Daniel was like, I can give you my wrist. It doesn't matter. I can still
Yeah,
beat you.
yeah,
If you want to take my wrist, I can give it to you.
yeah. I know that podcast got a little bit. But Doug's a straight shooter. You know, like Doug is not gonna pull punches. If Doug feels a certain way, he is going to tell it to you. You know, like you get what Doug is. You know, you don't he's not sugarcoating much. So if you like that, then you like Doug. If you don't like that, you might not like Doug. But I like the guy. I've gotten to know him very well. I like him as a human being. Yeah, we've become pretty good friends. And because of that, so when I look at this match, I see it as how much did Doug improve, right? So like when Doug took his first match against Coach Ray, um, he was like 6 weeks back, and his showing was impressive. The question is, you know, what's the gap difference between Daniel and Ray, and then how much can he close on his ceiling, you know, as far as training goes. Because the longer Doug trains and the longer he's active and committed like this, he's only going to get better because he took such a long hiatus. Um, and then it comes down to the stylistic thing. Daniel's style is very interesting, like the open top roll, like lock pronation, really good hand protection in the strap. It makes him a very difficult nut to crack. And then the question is, can Doug access that lane? Does he have the strength and confidence in that lane? What I know from talking to Doug is that he is most certainly stronger and in better form and in better health than the first outing. So that said, I mean, if we're going to put it on paper, I think Doug and every single one of us knows that we're clear underdogs, and we've really accepted that role. Doesn't mean that Doug has any doubts as if he can have success. He's a very confident dude, and I think that confidence and the how round one goes is going to really shed some light on how the whole thing's going to go. But I'm rooting for Doug. I believe, you know, of that weight class, Doug has some of the best genetics and the best ability to be extremely large at that weight. So that has to be his advantage. He's going to tower over Daniel. He's going to be the larger man. It's the question is he going to be strong enough on that day? But I have Daniel, like, you know, as the Vegas odds favorite. But don't be surprised if you see Doug pull it off and actually absolutely melt down when he does. It'll be fireworks if he wins. Maybe even if he wins the first round, we might see it.
Yeah. Andreas Kyriakopoulos is saying that, but Doug doesn't like you, Pradeep. Yeah, Doug absolutely loves me. Their love came to such a point, the likeness came to such a point that he just couldn't handle it and he blocked my ass on Facebook.
Sometimes when you're so passionate, things like that will happen, you know?
I like Doug, man. I really like that. Not so much early on, but now. But that moment was weird. Like imagine Paul, like you have not sent a person any message whatsoever. You have never sent him a message. He messages you, and before you reply, he blocks you. I became
Actually,
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding in front of camera. That made me a genuine fan of Doug. Like that takes some next level confidence to pull such thing off. So
yeah.
like how do you see that match? Like what is the weight cap for this match?
85, 85 kilograms, so 187. Doug's big at that weight, like he's a large human, but he's not much like he made a bigger cut to get to it last time, but his body composition is much better. Like his diet's clean, he's leaner, he's more filled out. So he'll probably only have to cut 5-7 pounds, which I think will benefit him because he'll probably recover 10 then, you know, and he'll be larger. Again, style. I know that podcast. Daniel said, "Well, I'll go into a hook with you." I think if Daniel goes into a hook with him, he might not be happy with how it goes. Like I don't think that the answer with Doug is a marquee low hand top roller. I personally don't think stylistically that's a good option against Daniel. I think it's a post top roll leading with the index finger
Yeah.
and hard side pressure, shoulder forward top roll. I like that move against his open top roll. But if he dives forward in a tight hook, I think Doug has the horsepower for him. I really do. I would encourage, like, if Daniel's watching it, if you want to test yourself, do that in round one. Dive at him without the strap, and then we'll know. That's what I want to see. Round one, deep hook, no strap.
Nah, I don't think I want to see that because, like, let's be honest, everyone runs away from Daniel's hook. There are not many people who are willing to go in a hook against Daniel.
Doug sent me a video today of something fairly, I don't know who he was pulling, where he lost in a deep committed hook. Fairly, like,
It was a long
without,
match.
no, maybe less than 10 seconds.
Okay, that's still a long match. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, but like not like it wasn't like an elbow to elbow screamer, you know,
Yeah.
like a death
But
warrior.
I've seen one basic rule that if you can see some arm wrestler, you take his wrist or someone else takes his wrist, and that guy is still not going down. He's jammed his elbow like that in the center. Usually those type of dudes are difficult to beat in a hook as well. Because it clearly shows if you cannot beat them like this, their arm is really
Mhm.
strong. And when they can have this in a hook, it is going to be like twice as difficult to beat them.
Well, a lot of that, like when you lose your wrist, a lot of that is, you know, when the wrist goes, how much pronation can you maintain? Like everybody thinks that Hutchings' wrist is weak. It's not weak at all. He's just comfortable when it goes back, keeping his pronation. And it's interesting. It's one thing when you take a guy's hand and take his pronation, you don't feel much. But when you take a guy's hand and they have the pronation intact, it's a weird spot to be in.
Yeah.
And
And
Daniel has great static pronation. Like he locks it, keeps it.
I want to come back to this. I'll come back to this match, but I want to discuss Todd Hutchings. We forgot that guy. If Todd comes down to 95 kilos, he cuts down, everyone starts top rolling. Everyone starts top rolling in that weight class after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think this
He's
this
definitely one that can easily make 95 too.
I think this 85 kilos weight cap for sure favors, and I think it was needed for this event in my opinion in this match because Daniel Prokopchuk is like 75 kilos. Like he's best on the left arm, and he got second this time in the World Championships on the right arm at 75. I'm assuming he was also cutting some weight to come down to 75. So let's say his walk around weight is like 77, 78. He's like 5'5". I've never seen him personally. Maybe he's like 5'6" at most.
Yeah, I think he's like 5'6", something like that.
Yeah. So that is not a big guy. And Doug, let's say Doug gets to 90 kilos and Daniel comes at 80 kilos. So that's almost a 10 kilos gap.
Yeah, Doug's 6'1" too. Like Doug is
6'1".
just a large, big boned guy.
Yeah.
who carries that weight so well. Thin waist, broad shoulders, like great anatomy for the sport.
I was basically thinking throughout the course when this match was announced till about few days ago, maybe a week ago, until I heard Doug say something. He said that I've never lost a match when I've taken someone's wrist. And that to me, it forced me to rethink about this match, because earlier I was thinking that it is going to look exactly similar to the Corey West, no, not Corey West, Corey Miller match, where
Mm-hmm.
he takes his wrist and Daniel just is laughing at him and then he beats him without the wrist. I was thinking like it is going to go like that, but now I've heard him say that he's never lost, and that is a big statement. So that
Yeah,
makes me question, like, he does
Doug's
have a
got a
chance in
lot of
this match.
side pressure. He's got a lot of side pressure and general power. Like he's a strong human, strong in the gym. Like he's done some incredible numbers in his past. And, he like genetically he's built for the sport. It's I think throughout his career he just struggled with some ons and offs. And now we got him back and we got him focused. So that's why I feel like this match is more about Doug against Doug than Doug against Daniel. What are we going to see? How much did he get back, and what is he going to bring?
Yeah. Stizzy has gifted one channel membership. Thanks, Stizzy. And Tal Paul Hutchins Jr. has got the membership. Other guys were late. Better luck next time. All right. So I think he can pin Daniel. I'm still not going with Doug as a favorite in this match, but I think now I believe he has the ability to pin him. But doing that 3 times, it may get difficult for him. We'll see. But that's a
Yeah,
good match in my opinion. No wait ends quick.
no, I don't think so either.
Rob Vision Jr. versus Zurab Tavbaridze. Rob should be worried after he saw Zurab's performance at AMC.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the ones I'm most excited about. Getting Rob back in the game. I mean, he's such a dynamic personality and a gifted human. Like, I mean, when I look at like genetics and anatomy and like, he's the closest thing that we have to somebody that could compare to John when you talk about like hand size, like he's even built more proportionately better as an arm wrestler, and his fingers are longer, his containment, like he has every tool. And I'm just excited to see him back training every week, once or twice a week, and focus now to coming back to that form we saw when he dominated WAL. Does he have the tools to beat Zurab? Absolutely. You know, we saw Chance Shaw have some success. He appeared to show a lane there. The question is Rob going to be able to train that lane up and find that lane on the table? And we can't forget that Rob also has a good inside game. And what we saw with Rob against Sasha was, there were some extenuating circumstances there. And I know Rob was not in his best form at the best point in his life there. And he still had enough to kind of hang Sasha up inside for a couple seconds. So that shows a poor form of Rob, still being able to, create problems for Sasha. I think he might actually tweet something during that match as well. So I think Rob has options, and I'd love to see him go straight to that, post pronator locked high hand top roll and be able to make it look easy. But something tells me that Rob is maybe going to go meathead mode and go inside with Zurab, and then we'll get a show. So I'm really anticipating this match. I really like Zurab as well. Like as a person, he's an awesome dude. But I mean, all three of us, all four of us, we have embraced the underdog role. And I think Rob sees it, through clear lenses that Zurab is the favorite, especially after what we just saw him do at AMC. So for Rob, it's, he's hunting uphill, and I think he knows it. So on paper, Vegas is going to make Zurab the favorite for sure, based off of the known quantities and how active that Zurab has been. But when you look at the intangibles that Rob brings to the table, you surely can't count him out. And don't be surprised if, he's another one that if he has success in round one, he's going to go nuclear. He'll go crazy, and that'll be fun.
We would love to see that WL Rob
Yes.
come back, the smashing
Yeah.
table and removing shirts in the area. That
Mhm.
was really awesome. I think the biggest factor that is making Rob the underdog in this match is his speed. Because Chan Shaw has shown us the path how to beat Zurab. And I think Rob can do almost everything that Chance can do, but he doesn't have the explosivity. And Chance did it with his speed. We're not sure if the match stopped, how well would Chance would have done against Zurab, because John got in a lot of trouble. It wasn't
Mhm.
easy for John. And one pin
No.
was controversial, but there was one clear pin. So if you can
Mhm.
pin John Brazing twice, just because John was not fast enough, and from here bringing him back, I think John was also mentioning it is going to be a really long day for Rob, because he's not fast. Let's be honest, he's not
Well,
fast.
I think what Rob has to do is negate that, maybe that lack of fast twitch, with a whole bunch of load. You know, the thing that when if you have your setup the way you want it, you can do one of two things. You can dead load when you feel comfortable and snap to your move, or you can load your move. So I think even in Chance's instance, Chance uses a good bit of like 1 second load before the go. And I think he had already secured what he wanted. And then it was really just about dropping his body. It was less about like firing like Daniel Mosier or some of these guys who are super fast. And it was more about getting it, securing it, and then dropping. I think Rob has the ability, if he can find that static load, to control center. The worst thing that could happen to Rob is he's not loaded and he misses the go and he winds up here. Anything over here is trouble. Everything has to be controlled from here to here, and in the hand has to be secured here. Even if you secure Zurab's hand down here, it might be too late, because we've seen him just like he's a dog.
Yeah.
He'll let it go, and I mean he did it in an AMC tournament, came back, and what's interesting about him is we saw his hand get compromised, but then we seen him in later rounds still successfully turn people in. So he has the integrity where it doesn't blow up forever, which
Yeah,
is impressive.
really impressive. And Zorab is for sure going to be easier to top roll than Sasho. I think that's a given. There is enough evidence of that available on the internet. Sasho, I think you have something much more difficult. And I hope we'll talk about your match. I hope you're not even thinking about going backwards against Sasho. I'm telling you, bro, that is not going to work. If you can do that, like the world will be shocked. Because I'm not even. I think that may be even more difficult than top rolling Rostam. At least it is going to be a similar level difficulty going back, going outwards. But your hook, it's like you're the next Todd Hutchings man. The way you're improving your hook every single time, like it's getting really fast, really explosive.
I got a long way to go with Hutchings, as far as those shoes to fill. He's something special, and he's not. He's so much more than just a hooker too.
Yeah.
People just run from his hook, so he pulls with his pronator and side pressure. But yeah, he's something special.
I think Zurab will not be able to force a clear, like clean hook on Rob just like he did against Ryan Bowen. I don't think that will be possible for him. So have we really seen Rob like lose when he has completely taken the opponent's wrist? I know he took Todd Hutchings' wrist, but that was like slightly bending his wrist back. Todd was like still almost like that. But I think
Pronator
Zurab may
back.
be like this.
Yeah, that again, that's what it comes down to, because Todd will lose his wrist this way, but his pronation will be
Pronation.
live. The question is, like, when we saw Zurab get his hand taken against John, we saw pronation go too, But what's so impressive about it is he's able to be in that wrist compromised palm up and still shove
Yeah.
sideways, which is something even different from, and it's good. It's going to be a whole different feel for Rob. But I do think that if Rob can compromise the wrist and the pronation, the minute that happens, the ball goes in his court, especially as long as it's not over here. If he can do that in this type of position where his hand's still in line with his shoulder somewhat, he should his his likelihood of finishing that match goes up.
Yeah. I hope Rob is doing some cardio because I believe he's going to need a lot of that in this match. So, Cody Spermerit versus Alijan Muratov, left arm.
How impressive is Muratov? How impressive is that guy?
Yeah.
Co-
Like,
Cody has Cody has his work cut out for him. I mean, the advantages he brings is, just his sheer size. And I think he was kind of peaking and primed when he had the injury against Robbie Topi where he broke his arm and still won the match, which is crazy in itself. Questions there is, how well is he recovered from that? And I think it's tough to gauge with guys like Cody because nobody really has anything for him left arm to tell him where he's at. We saw him come back and lose to,
Corey West.
Morozov, and we saw him lose to Corey West pretty decisively. So, I mean, I think really for Alijan, this is like the next step in him climbing the super heavyweight ladder. As crazy as it sounds, I have Alijan as the favorite. Even though he's probably given up 150 pounds, like something like that. Let me shut this door quick.
Yeah. RVJ is in the same room with Sasho PTSD, Paul the Hooker Linn. Tony Kitoski messed up Doug in WAL. Yeah, that's interesting. So how do you really hook Cody Merritt? Like he's the one who's going to go like this, like completely keeping the pronation, giving everything else up. How do you hook a guy like that? Like Morozov is basically a hook arm wrestler on the left, and he top rolled Cody Merritt. Corey West, he also like kind of top rolled him without the wrist. So like Alijan is not going to do that. Like he cannot top roll Cody Merritt. Let's be honest. Maybe he can after he's tired, but like how does he force him in a hook?
Speed. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, the initiation. If he can initiate super hard, then that should negate that. If he can win center and get his shoulder on top with the heel of his hand down and sets it, I think that'll be a long day for Cody. I'm rooting for Cody. I love the guy. He's just another one, like, as far as like being a top-notch human being, like you can't ask for more out of the guy. He's just got a heart of gold. So I wish him all the success in the world.
Yeah. But it's going to be still like I think for both of them it is going to be difficult. Alijan, when he won WAF in Turkey 2022, he was like 95 kilos only and he won like 110 plus category. Now he's bulked up to 100 or 101 kilos with shoes and everything I saw on his story. But I think he's getting bigger and he'll be probably the strongest that he has ever been.
Yeah.
Over 100 kilos. Difficult match. Cool. Yeah. Arif Artem, Georgi Zaranov.
I mean, Zaranov is so easy to root for. Like his matches on the card that I was at was they were so good, and he's a smaller guy. Like there's something that makes me want to root for him, but I have Arif as the favorite. He's big and he's, been dominant. He has to be the favorite. I think it's a tough outing for Zaranov, but I'm gonna root for him because I like the way I like his style.
You remember in East versus West 2 on the poster, Arif Artem was like he had a smaller beard, and at that time I was also on leave. I also had a bigger beard, and people were messaging again, texting him during lives like, "What is Pradeep doing on East versus West card?" People started joking that Arif looks like Pradeep, and I'm like, he's twice my size.
At least, yeah, he's huge.
Yeah, big guy. So he's the former champion in the 110 plus category, and I think Georgi has also been champion, but in 110. So that also tells you a lot. Like maybe like that only should be sufficient for us to declare Arif as the favorite. Plus he's explosive, but Georgi on the other hand, he can hook and top roll both, and we have seen that sometimes in this super match world, having two weapons can really mess up with the other guy's endurance who relies only on one move.
So important. It's so important. I know you're telling me not to top roll and everything, but you gotta have that. You gotta have a gun in you gotta have a bullet in your gun. You have to.
Yeah.
You got to.
Crazy speed. Zaranov is drunk with joy. Andreas is saying that's another interesting match. Not many people are looking forward to it, but it will be interesting to see if Georgi Zaranov can do something. If Arif wins, that wouldn't be so much interesting for many people. Dave Chaffee was
both arms last time he was there. Like we gotta see him again, and he was in wars. He was in wars.
Yeah,
they were
both
great
left
matches.
And right.
Yeah.
So, and he won both of them. So Dave Chaffee versus Rivas, that can be a shocking match. Like Chaffee is the favorite. I think you would agree with that.
I do agree. But I do also see the clear and imminent threat that is Rivas, and an improving Rivas. Um, I think Dave is going to have just one notch more horsepower, side pressure. Like we've heard what Hermes has said about Dave's side pressure. We already know it. You know what I mean? And then he's got a hand to match it. So really what it comes down to for Rivas to be able to have a shot in this match is if he can get a stop and put miles on Dave's arm. Like we saw with Morozov that, if you can drag Dave to deep water, you got a shot. But then we also saw Dave like pull his guts out against Vitali without his hand and show a mega endurance. So I can't help but think that Dave is going to be working on those types of things. And I think he's kind of in a must-win situation too. So I have Dave as the favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a crazy war. It could be like a 3-0, but it could also be a war.
And Rivas has always been a top roller throughout his career. But Paul, I'm going to make a prediction here. I think he's working on his hook. I think he's going for that hook. And I'm saying that because of two reasons. First one is we have seen when Dave Chaffee lost both of his matches at East versus West, he lost both of them in hook. Morozov beat him in a hook. Gennady couldn't top roll, forced him in a hook and beat him. And the second thing that I noticed before making this prediction is how well he did against Artem Morozov when he was forced in a hook by Artem. He like almost pinned him like 3-4 times, and the hook war lasted at least 30 seconds. So seeing how well he did in a hook, that was like really impressive. I wouldn't be surprised at all. In fact, I'm expecting him to like, if maybe not in the first round, but definitely in the second round to shoot for that hook. And I think he may just be strong enough because he's a big guy. He's bigger than Dave Chaffee. He may be strong enough to probably outlast Chaffee in a hook.
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. I think that one actually has the potential to shape up to be one of the best matches in the card, depending on how it goes. But obviously, I'm going to be in Dave's corner for sure, rooting for him. I want to see Dave back pulling some of these top-notch guys.
Yeah. And this is one match where you will not see Dave kind of fade off. I think if Dave wins two, Rivas makes a comeback, Dave still has a possibility to win another round after that, because even the Georgians have said that Rivas also doesn't have a really good endurance.
I mean, he looked pretty good endurance-wise against Michael Todd.
Yeah, yeah.
Pulling in the flop wrist across the table.
But not so much against Morozov. But I would say for anyone who weighs over 130 kilos, I don't think any arm wrestler has a better endurance than Morozov. Maybe Jerry. Maybe Jerry can be close.
Yeah. Possible. Possible. We'll have to see that match.
Vitali versus Tobias left arm. Some people were saying that, like, what is this photo? Like, he's looking like a giant in front of Tobias Sporong. And he is a giant. Like, Vitali is that much taller than Tobias.
Well, Tobias is tall too. I mean, he's like 6'5", 6'6". I mean, that's just how tall Vitali is.
I think he's 6'4".
Is he? Okay. I have a hard time picking this one because I'm really unsure of where Vitali's left is. I know he pseudo evenly matched right and left, like as far as like his balance in the past. But Tobias his left is very, very good, So I don't know. To me, this one is like kind of a toss up. You want to give the odds to Vitali based on size and pedigree and everything. But I think Tobias is like he's young, he's gifted, he's got it. Like these are the two dudes with the best grip strength in the entire sport, And Tobias is very versatile, quick, and snappy. Like he can pull in different spots, and he's very efficient at making people uncomfortable. So I don't know. I mean, this is another one that I have a hard time picking it. I guess I would just favor Vitali based on pedigree, but I think this could shape up to be a really good one too.
Yeah.
And not many people are talking about it. I don't see much talk about it.
You don't really see Tobias getting top rolled. Artem Morozov tried that and he immediately regretted it. Like he just flopped Morozov's wrist like nothing. So that
Yeah,
was a huge statement. And in one round, Morozov tried to slip, and he just clamped onto his fingers and just went sideways and pinned him like in like maybe less than half a second.
his fingers are so strong and his wrist is so strong that he has that great ability to defensive top roll, reverse top roll with aggression.
Yeah.
That it's like, I mean, I've seen him do the same thing to Marcio. When Marcio came in to hook him, it was just boom, right away, hand right underneath. So yeah, he's special, and I'm very interested to see how those grips kind of match up with each other. And we know it's gonna go outside, you know.
Yeah.
So
Another crazy prediction that I want to make for this in this match. If Vitali doesn't succeed with his top roll, I think he has the ability to force the match in a hook because Vitali is so tall, and seeing how easy Morozov was
yeah,
able to force the hook on Tobias, I think Vitali
yeah,
may also be able to do that, and he for sure has a
man,
stronger arm than Tobias. Sure,
that would be
no doubt.
really cool if we saw that. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think Vitali is running. We cannot say running for a hook because it is like kind of shooting forward. We can say running
Yeah,
for top roll, but if top
yeah.
roll doesn't work, I think Vitali is going in next round.
Okay, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it because if we compare the levels, the level of difficulty to top roll Tobias and the level of difficulty to hook him, I think these are not comparable. Like
Take the
top
path of
rolling him
least
is much more
resistance,
difficult.
right? Yeah. Take the path of least resistance.
Yeah. And Vitali, it doesn't seem like a hook arm wrestler, but against someone who probably has a weaker arm than him, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't try for the hook.
Well, anatomically as well, with that long forearm, if you can get your elbow to the back of the pad like Devin does, get your shoulder forward, you're pulling off your elbow. That's a for a shorter arm guy, that's a really crappy position. It doesn't feel good. When you got a long arm guy with his elbow all the way at the back, sucks.
Yeah. And this match, David Samushia
Mm-hmm.
versus we have Brendan Lelsesser.
Yep. Brandon's the underdog. I mean, that's a known quantity. I heard Neil and Angan talk about it today on their live, and Neil made some really good points. And I agreed with them kind of coming into it. He was kind of really reiterating what was going through my head. If Brandon can get a stop and make the match ugly, the tides turn in his favor. He has to get a stop, and he's notorious for stopping people in weird positions where you shouldn't feel comfortable. And he feels comfortable in those positions. If it gets to an awkward position where DeVite is not in that hook where he wants to be or in that wrist flex position, the odds sway towards Brandon. But if you're looking at it from the outside in, like DeVite, the Georgians say he's got possibly pound for pound the strongest wrist in Georgia. So to be able to top roll him, actually take his wrist, is incredibly hard. Now, we did see Brandon do that against Craig, which was very impressive. And Brandon also has a very tricky low hand up pressure, like committed to laying on the tricep spot that is so awkward looking. It makes it very hard to supinate him in the center of the table. Like he's very hard to snap into a hook. We saw Craig couldn't do it, and he's one of the best in the United States at doing that. So it's really about that stylistic clash, and can Brandon get a stop and make the match weird? If DeVite turns it completely in wrist to wrist center and he's tucked in, he's the favorite. But the question is, can he get what he needs in the setup, and can he do that in the center of the table? Because the only other way to pull Brandon is to be able to give the center of the table up and catch his hit. And it takes a lot of confidence to let somebody just slam down into your bicep. So I don't know if DeVite stylistically is comfortable with that as well. Another weight difference type match, like Brandon is coming way down in weight, but he's a professional dude. He's pot committed to the sport in every aspect of his life. He lives it, So we're going to see a guy that started his weight cut around 222 pounds come down to, 85 kilograms. So we're going to see him recover back to close to that. I think he's going to probably be 215 on the day of competition. And I got to pull with him 2 weeks ago, and I'll get to pull with him again this week. and he is notably stronger, and he is notably leaner, and he looks really, really good. So one thing I know is he is going to bring his best form. Like, this is the Super Bowl for him. This is the highlight of his career. So we are going to see a professional dude who comes totally prepared to the max to his potential, and we're going to see him leave it all on the table. So it could wind up being a one-sided match, or it could wind up being a war.
Yeah. I was basically thinking about this one thing. I didn't want to overcomplicate this in my mind. First of all, it is going to be difficult for Brandon to cut down to 88 kilos because at Monster Factory he was struggling to cut to 90 kilos, 200 pounds. Like he barely made it. And this time 88 kilos, let's say if he makes it. My question is, people are saying, almost everyone is saying that Samusha is unbeatable at 85 kilos. If you weigh 85, you cannot really beat that guy. So my question is, Brendan Elsesser, who hasn't really traveled outside of USA, I'm guessing. So just by increasing the weight cap by 3 kilos, is it really possible that the guy who's unbeatable at 85, Brandon is going to beat him at 88? I
I
think
mean,
that the math doesn't fit here.
I don't think anybody's unbeatable. There's always somebody coming along who potentially could beat somebody out of weight. But like Brandon, I think when you look at the Monster Factory thing, like I think he took that weight cut too lightly because he had done it in the past for so many years for WAL. He was getting down to 195 all the time. So I think he kind of took it lightly and didn't factor in the travel. I think the best thing that could have happened to him was him struggling at a Monster Factory to make 200, because now he knows where he has to be, 2 weeks out to get to that 88. It's a known quantity now. So now it's up to him to figure that out and do everything in his power, which I think he'll do. And I think, he wants to kind of settle down in that lighter weight class, like under 90 kilograms. And to be honest with you, another dude with weird, like, anatomy, he's got an enormous upper body and basically doesn't have legs. So, like, he's like perfectly built for arm wrestling. He's all shoulders, lats, and pecs, and forearms, biceps. It's all right here, and then nothing down there. So, like, people look at him and you see him with pants on. There's no way that guy can make 88 kilograms. And if you're looking at him, give him the eye test, you would say that. But I've seen him make cuts, for small tournaments around here, getting down to 200 pounds. So I think he's going to do it. And I think in order for him to be able to beat Samusha, it has, he has to be large on that day, because I think Samusha is that good when it comes to, like, but Samusha's also not walking around at 85. Everybody acts like he's walking around at 85. They're like, you pulled him, he was 85 kilograms. No, he wasn't. You guys can think what you want. That's when he won his world titles, but he wasn't that weight on the day of competition or the day of weigh-ins. He didn't even weigh in. So yeah, he had trouble making weight for Craig. He had to, like, push the weigh-in back and do it like he had like 7 or 8 pounds to cut, and that was on the time we were weighing in. He's big too, and that to me is like, okay, Samusha's only getting better from when I pulled too. Like, he was on the comeback trail when I pulled, so I can only imagine where his level's at now, and I got a taste for it when I saw him pull Craig. So I mean, he's got to be the favorite. I mean, the guy's like undefeated at that weight class. He's defended his title here in East versus West how many times? 4 or 5 times. He owns the helmet and the shield. He's taking it home with him. Like, the guy is the man, and nobody talks about him. It's like we because he doesn't really self-promote and everything, but he is the man. And people, like, to this day, they'll ask about the card, like, that guy don't know who he is. I'm like, he's the most dominant champion in East versus West.
Besides Paul.
I don't have any defenses. Shoot, I didn't really even earn mine. That's not dominant. Let me get one good one under my belt, and maybe I'll take a little bit.
After this event, you will be. I think if I'm Brandon, the only thing that is making me feel confident in my mind is that Samusha got top rolled by a lighter Daniel Prokopchuk, who isn't even a top roller.
Yep.
Who isn't even a top roller. Like that. That's
coordination and back pressure, and guess what? That's the way Brandon pulls.
Yeah, but then he had that secret flop press as well. That's a worrisome side as well. Even if you do that, Ligma is saying Samosa versus King Kali. This is saying Team Samosa all day. So Samosa, I'll show you, Paul, what Samosa is. Like, it's a Indian. I think you can call it a snack. If you See, if you show that name Samosia, like half of the Indians are going to say
Oh, they think
samosa.
it's something else. Let me see it.
That's
What is
that's
that? What is
that's
it? What is it?
that's samosa. You should try that. Maybe
But
some
what
Indian
is it?
Indian restaurant or something you can find it.
What is it though? What's in it?
Basically, I think what's in it you may not like it. Potatoes, basically boiled potatoes.
Oh,
Like I cannot tell you the exact recipe or anything, but it tastes good. Like it tastes good. Like one of the all-time favorite snacks in India.
okay. I've never
Possibly,
never heard of it. The only
yeah.
reason I ask the only reason I ask is because my wife is Lebanese and they make something that looks similar. It's like a fried bread with like, but it's got like ground beef and like pine nuts and stuff in it. I thought maybe it was the same thing.
Andres was saying on the biggest mismatch of the night. We'll see. Let's move on to the next match, and that is you're number three in terms of main event.
That just means I got to wait around a lot.
So Paul Linn
Games.
versus Sasho Andrea.
Yep.
What are
Uh,
the things that make you feel confident in this match? Like the things that you have noticed or analyzed so far.
I think that I'm just in my own personal best form. I'm worried about me.
Okay.
I'm not like we know Sasha's in good shape. There's no like looming thing of like, oh, Rustom's making a comeback. And then in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, what version of him am I getting? And then I'm battling with that thought of like, okay, like, do I just want to win and get a bad version of him, or do I want the best version of him and beat him, and then have people still say, it might not have been the best version, like to me that like it was an awesome opportunity, but also kind of a trap, and I've been in that situation here a couple times, and this is the litmus test. This is the current world champion who's been active and seems basically immortal at that weight. So when you're preparing for that guy, you can only worry about yourself, And I have to. I tweak some things in training. I've really tracked my diet. Like everything's been on point, and I'm healthy. And I feel on the table, I feel notably stronger against my barometers. And I've gotten to pull with some different guys, and I'm going to get to pull with Brandon and a bunch of guys at the qualifier coming up here this weekend, and then I'm going to travel to Todd Hutchins, and I'm going to pick his brain about his match with Sasha, and then let's see what he thinks when he feels what I have, and hopefully gain some information there. That's all I can do is bring the best version of myself and then leave it on the table. So that's what I'm going to do, and as long as good Lord willing, we'll stay healthy in the next 2 weeks, and we'll come over there and be the best version of me, and then I see where I stack up.
Yeah, I think you just mentioned the Todd Hutchings match. If I remember correctly, Todd was never on the defensive in that match. And Todd is not a fast guy. He's like, compared to you, he's really slow. If Todd was able to get on the offensive right from the beginning, I think that's one of the good signs for you in that match.
The thing about Todd is he is very, very hard to put on the defensive side
Yeah, yeah.
unless you have his hand cracked.
Hand.
He'll
Exactly,
still
exactly.
keep his shoulder in line. So like if you're taking and like, every time I practice with Todd, everybody's like, top roll him, top roll him. I'm like, no, why? I got the best hooker in the world here. Why do I want to try and top roll him? So whenever we practice, we're in a hook, even if I pop outside a little bit, we still go back in. I'm not going to use any wizardry to try and take his hand. This is my opportunity to get stronger, pulling with somebody who's stronger than me. So I take the Kenny Smith approach, and when you pull with Todd, you pull in a hook. So what I've noticed though is very, very hard. Todd's static side from the way he trains, when he sets up right here, everything is so stiff. So it doesn't really surprise me that he was able to lead with his shoulder and move to the offensive side. But to me, I think he kept his pronation, when he did it. Like he didn't palm himself up. He didn't really go like it was bone to bone, but he had the better hand position. We saw Haji Marazolo have some success
Yeah.
with a little bit more speed. He used a little bit more snappiness, with Haji's a little bit faster. So, I mean, we've seen some success there. So there are some matches out there, even though few and far between to find, there are some matches out there where you can get a little bit of data. So the question is, have I been able to develop a lane in the time of prep, or is it not enough? We'll see. And I can't worry about Sasha because I know he's going to come in good form. I've seen pictures and I've talked to, some people over there, and I know he's training his ass off. So, I mean, to me, that's the most respect I can get from somebody. If somebody's going and doing double days in preparation for me, thank you.
Yeah. And coming back to Toddzilla for a second, about a year ago, I was saying that Toddzilla is like unbeatable in this position, but he may not be so strong in this defensive hook position. And then I realized I've never seen Todd in this defensive hook position. He's never been. There can be two reasons for that. Like his side pressure is way too much to get him here, and if somebody gets him here, like his wrist becomes even more vulnerable that he gets top rolled, even if the other guy doesn't want to top roll him. So that's why we have never seen Todd in this position. But if you are able to get there, and I'm sure you have watched his 2022 WAF matches, I'm talking about Sasho now. He was easing people down to the pad, like the way you beat beginners so that they don't get hurt. He was holding
Yeah.
people right in center
Yeah.
and then easing them down to the pad in a WAF tournament. Like
Yeah.
that was one of the most
Yeah,
amazing things.
he's so dominant, and it's funny because some of the looser followers of the sport don't know how good he is. You see some of the polls over here will have me as a favorite, and you guys don't know. I'm not the favorite, but that's okay. Odds
Yeah.
are meant to be broken.
I'll create a poll. Let's see what the poll says on my channel. Armenian arm wrestler with a $2 super chat. Thanks for that. Paul, good luck. Are you coming to LA anytime soon?
LA. I don't have anything on my schedule as of now, but I've also kept my schedule very, very open after this event. So this is going to be a deciding factor to like what my travel for the coming season looks like. How this event goes. Other than the local tournaments that I'm hosting and stuff, my calendar is fairly wide open and hinging off of the results here.
Thomas Cuado is saying that he is 163 centimeter. So it's not even 5'5", like 5'6". Like how tall is?
And I heard he's 5'5". That's maybe slightly under.
Yeah,
So
5'4".
that's
163 is basically 5'4".
yeah. So there's going to be a big height disparity, but the reality of it is he has found a way to be so good at protecting his hand. It's so efficient at chopping down that like you said, he's pretty much untoppable.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think that there are lanes for what would be considered a top roll. I just don't think that there is a lane that is going to actually compromise his wrist. So that's kind of where my thought process is without giving up game plans and everything. There's intermediate positions between the two moves. And I think if I'm going to have some success, it's going to have to be in one of those intermediate areas.
Yeah. And when Rob was going up against Sasho, at that time, Rob and I were like kind of going back and forth on YouTube and stuff. I think it was around that time. I messaged Bojidar to tell Sasho to bring the riser. Like Rob was against riser. He was like every single day talking about riser. Riser is bad. It's like handicapping, like giving advantage to handicap people. And I was like, man, if Sasho just brings out the riser in front of Rob, he's already won half of the battle right there. But he didn't.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Weld Mishref is saying, I sent a super chat. Where is it? Nope, we didn't receive it, brother. Okay, next match we have. It's Ongarbai versus Irakli Zirek, actually. That's another huge match. Huge match, I
Yeah,
think.
I see this one. I don't see this close. I guess maybe it's not to take anything away from Iraqi. I just see Angrabayev as the cream of the crop top rope. And this is where like the two creams of the crop meet, right? And the common denominator is the Brzenk match, right? Where we saw John take Irakli's wrist, and we saw Angrabayev take John's wrist. So I don't like those scenarios where you say puller A, puller B, but I just think that Angrabayev is like the best and most complete top roller that we may ever see in the sport of armor. I think he's that good, you know, and like, to be honest with you, I I don't think an outside move is the way to beat this guy. Like, you have to be that much of a committed hooker to be able to turn him there where he's uncomfortable, and he can still pull inside. So, I mean, I think that Irakli is like on such a great upward trajectory, and he just got like a career highlight win over John. But I think what we saw out of Angarbayev in the Michael Todd match, I mean, like, it was like watching ice dancing, the way he transitioned, the way he recovered. Just, the Kazakhs have such a professional approach to the sport, and they're so technical. And he is he's the poster boy for him. I see this as I see Angarbayev as a heavy favorite, and mainly that's based off of style. But I'm not going to count Irakli out because of the level of heart he showed against John, like the commitment in those weird areas and stuff. He's clearly getting better. But again, this is him pushing his himself to get bigger for this match. He's still not pulling at, I don't think that Irakli's most efficient weight is up there at that 115 mark. I think he's a big dude. He's much larger than you would expect in real life, like when you meet him in real life. But Angarbayev's tall, and he's like lean and lanky. Like, he's just so built for that weight. I have him as a heavy favorite. I'll probably be rooting for Irakli, though. I'll be rooting for the Georgians as much as I can. But yeah, I think Angarbayev clear favorite.
Yeah. You know what? Early on, my prediction rate, the accuracy with which I predict matches in past 2 years is going like this, constantly going down. Like, I'm getting worse and worse. And I predicted this 2 years ago. You wouldn't believe, Paul. 2 years ago, when I used to predict matches, people used to compare, well, Pradeep is predicting matches more than 80% accuracy. And pro arm wrestlers are predicting with 50, 60%. So what's going on? And I used to give the reasoning that I do not have that much knowledge about arm wrestling, and I look at the most basic things and I come up with my prediction, and it's almost always right. But when they have more knowledge, the pro arm wrestlers, they start to look at way too many things. They complicate things in their own mind, and it goes like wrong. And I
Yeah,
predicted that. Yeah.
it's easy to overanalyze. I mean, look at Devin. He's probably the smartest guy in the sport of arm wrestling. The guy's like 20% in predicted matches. It's always wrong.
Yeah. His WL predictions were good, but after that, like, he's been like wrong with almost everything.
Yeah.
So after that, I said that maybe next couple of years, when I gain more knowledge, my prediction is also going to go down, and that is exactly what has happened. So in this
Yeah.
match, I'm going back with the like basic predictions, like I used to predict matches. Ongarbayev top rolled John. John top rolled Irakli. Irakli beat John with a flop press. I don't think Ongarbayev is beatable with a flop press. Like, Michael did it once, but
Yeah.
Michael Todd has a
And
special,
yeah,
special shoulder
you're
press
right.
move.
But you saying that right there, just like that, is it's good enough as like a quantification.
Yeah.
Like, I'm digging even deeper into it, like the weight gain and all these other different things.
Yeah. Don't look at that.
But the reality of it is, it really comes back to that. Like, if John can take Irakli's wrist and Angarbayev can take John's wrist, then why would Angarbayev not be able to take
Yeah.
Irakli's wrist?
And the thing is that Ongarbayev doesn't look like a guy who can lose to a flop press.
Mhm.
That's another thing.
Yeah, he's got a heart and a gas tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's technical too, so he's going to make the adjustments to get his shoulder back. He's not going to open his own arm for you.
Yeah. So there was one question somebody was asking, your neutral grip, back pressure, max weight.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody does it different. I think I tested it like 2 or 3 years ago because Ryan Bowen was doing something silly and wanting people to test it. I want to say I did like 145 real weight on the cables, but it was from a table. It was like pivoting back. It wasn't like I also train it from the ground off a loading pin, which I can't do quite as much weight because I don't have my elbow on anything. But yeah, I think that way it's somewhere in the 130s. On the table here is probably in the 140s, something like that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting lift though, because when you apply it to the table, like when you actually try to apply back pressure in arm wrestling, we'll train it with these different vectors where we're just levering up. or we're just rowing back. But when you're on the table, it's a combination of both. So it's about the ability to keep the connection with how you're moving. So it's another one of those things that we can fall victim to, like evaluating gym lifts a lot and saying, okay, well, Ryan Bowen did 170 or something crazy. He should beat everyone in arm wrestling. But we're training that one little weird vector when arm wrestling is a combination of a bunch. So I think it's good to track those things because at least you're getting stronger. But that's not one that I'm actively tracking with 1RMs. I've done it, but a lot of times the other thing too is when you're really doing those hard 1RMs like that, you can really get some tendonitis. So sometimes it's better to track with reps.
Yeah. I think I did 39 kilos on that exercise, the same setup from the table, elbow on the pad. That's like what, 86, 87 pounds. And by the end of this year, I think I'll get 100 pounds on that exercise.
Oh, I think that's easy. That would be very attainable for you.
Yeah.
You might surprise yourself.
And who should Pradeep pull next? That's a question in the chat.
Well, that girl from the video, the girl you sent the video of, just beating all the And you said, dog, I'm taking you too lightly. I don't know. Who should you pull? I'm trying to think. Jake Ward, Aussie arm wrestler. I like
think
that
that's
one.
a good match.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, you go to his partner, Uncle John. And Uncle John's a lefty, so you get your left right. You gotta get it good.
Yeah, Uncle John looks like levels
Uncle
above
John.
me for now.
Uncle John's good left.
Yeah, his left is good. So guys, before we talk about the final main event match, Devon Let's Match, few things that I need to talk about. First of all, subscribe to Paul Linn's channel. That is something that you should have already done by now because Paul's amazing. And the next thing is purchase the pay-per-view, $16.99. Link is in the description. Subscribe to Armwrestling News as well if you can, and join as a member if you want, and like the video. So these are the basic things that I wanted to talk about.
We're going into this main event match here. This is the one that's selling all the pay-per-views. Buy the pay-per-view for this match alone. We're all the rest of us down there, we're just bonus attractions. But this is what everybody wants to see. Pay-per-view is cheap, man. I mean, I would pay $16.99 to see this match alone. And keep in mind, you can also, there should be links probably in here for the cards and the t-shirts and the posters too. Remember, limited supply on them. I think 85% of the cards are already spoken for and reserved. So get them while you can.
And one thing that many people, including me, complained about East versus West. Too many matches, like 7 hours, 7.5 hours format. And Engin has changed that too. Only 11 matches this time. Probably next time there will be 10. So there is literally nothing, zero things to complain about the event now. Now you cannot say it is too long. Like, yeah, compared to other organizations, still 11 matches. Devon's match is probably going to take twice as much time. So we can say 12 matches. But yeah, at least 4 matches have been reduced, maybe 5, because there were some events with 16 matches.
Let's talk about that too. Like when I mentioned it too, like the match the event being long, I wasn't complaining about it. I'm just looking at it from a sheer business perspective.
Yeah.
Like, what is going to be most efficient, Frank? Because if I'm saying, hey, Engin, make it less matches, I'm talking myself out of a job. How would I want to do that? I'm not high on that list. But the reality of it is Engin, in his mind, he's providing, regardless of like how it's viewed or whatever, he's providing true arm wrestling fans as much as he can afford to provide them. And he is breaking his bank doing it, He's breaking his bank for the fans and for the arm wrestlers. And sometimes, the best intentions might not be received that well because then the event's longer. But in reality, like, if you think 11 matches is too much, just tune in when your guy's about to pull, or, you can always go back and rewatch them. I never watched the whole thing start to finish live because I can't block that amount of time out, but I never don't watch the whole thing. So to me, more is always more. I'll take more for my money any day of the week. So yeah, but he's making a conscious effort, even against what he wants to do to listen to the fans. And it's awesome to see the progress. Hopefully I can keep staying on the cards. We'll see.
Yeah. Paul, who watches the entire matches? Live stream commentators.
Oh, here we go. Stop it. You guys, look, I already gave you credit for buying the cards. Don't ask for any more.
So Warren Raver with a massive $20 super chat. Lethal arms all day.
Yeah, that's my guy. He's one of our most active members on our team. So he's the man. He is the man.
Neil Pickup is also in the chat with a couple of comments. Evening, guys. Hope you and your families are happy and healthy. Stay stoic. Stay strong. Be stoic. Thanks for
Thanks,
that,
Neil.
Neil.
Love. I caught a portion of you and Ang, and it was awesome. I'm gonna go back and watch the rest of it.
Yeah, I also watched like first 30-40 minutes maybe, and
Mhm.
I was doing like setting up this live, editing all these, cropping all these photos for background so that they fit on this Zoom. I was writing script for a video, recording videos. I did like probably 10 things in the in the last 1 hour before going live.
Yeah.
So Neil was also saying the forthcoming East versus West card is as stacked as hell. Yep. So let's talk about this match now, Paul. Big match. One thing I'll mention before we start predicting, Georgians are saying, Gennady is saying, he's asking Engin that, have you ever seen me getting tired, like gassed out in a match? My endurance is the best in the world. It is maybe even better than Devon. And I was like, at first I kind of believed it. Then I remembered the match. Then I literally asked Jerry, like, how did Gennady feel in your match? Like his endurance. And he was like, man, he was getting gassed out. And we saw that, like that arm was slowly going down against Jerry. So I don't know how Levan and Gennady is saying that he has the best endurance in the world when we saw him struggle against Jerry.
I don't know. I think that Jerry's such a like,
Style.
yeah, it like I think endurance in that position is just different than, like, let's say you're in a hook war. That's not the same thing, you know? And we don't really have the common denominator to see how Devin would do against Jerry, you know, with total control and Jerry in the flop. Because Devin beat him the more efficient way, crowded center, and turned him.
Against
So
Jerry's flop, like Devon is going down. I don't think you can even hold him for a second or two in that position. I don't think Devon can hold him like
which
that.
which is why, we saw Devin pull the way he did, because he's smart. So I think we're comparing apples to oranges. But I have talked to Gennady, and I know he's done some like freakish like athletic things. Like he's competed in like strongman stuff. So they might be basing some of that endurance basically his aerobic capacity. Didn't he say something like he ran like a 10K? Like he I don't know.
He didn't
I've
say
heard
10K. I remember that exact moment. He mentioned to Engin that if he wants, he can go and run many miles right now. So that's what he said.
okay. Yeah, and I mean, like, look, the guy's a freak. I mean, I don't know how much of it is just hype for the match and how much of it should be taken serious, but like it doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if the guy's just just one of those dudes. I wouldn't be blown away. And I think that's really, like, when I'm looking at like this match as a whole, that's really what I'm banking on. Like Gennady's no quit warrior mentality, you know, because Devin's going to make you uncomfortable, and he's gonna try and make you quit. And I think a lot of times that, like, Devin gets credit for making people quit, and I don't think they're quitting. I think they're just dead gassed out half the time, you know. So I think Gennady's one of those people, though, that he is going to push his tank to the absolute limit. So, like, if we see Devin in control, we are going to see a Gennady on the chair in between rounds. It's looking like Jerry Cataract.
So I think couple of things that people should take into consideration before completely ruling Gennady out of this match is that he's going to have a stronger arm than Prudnik. So it is not like in the first round Devin is going to go in a hook against Gennady. That is not going to happen. Maybe not even after he has kings moved and taxed his wrist completely like he did against Prudnik. I don't think that match is going in a hook in round one because Gennady's arm will be stronger than Devin, I think, and at least stronger than Prudnik, if not stronger than Devon. And the second thing is that Prudnik didn't have that flop press. We never saw Prudnik in that position, and Gennady is really good there. Like he's beaten Levan in the past with a flop press. So I think even if Devon takes his wrist and his arm opens up, I think at least for one round it is going to go straight down if Gennady is able to comfortably sit in that position. And people say that Devon's arm is really long. He can like create so much distance that it is almost impossible to follow him to the pad with a flop press. But I think it can be done. It can be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we look at Devin's approach to this match and how Devin, what he said early on about Gennady, the amount of respect that he gave him and the amount of like intensity in which he's training for this match, he knows that there's some stylistic issues. And really what you talked about up front, like when we saw the Prudnik match and we saw Devin gas Prudnik and then tuck into a deep tucked hook, Devin wasn't going to do that right off the bat.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it would have favored Prudnik if it just went wrist to wrist right away.
Yeah.
Devin had to strategically gas him and then bring him to his hook. Devin's hook at the front of the pad and Devin's hook at the back of the pad are way different. So it was done very strategically. And I think you make a good point. What does Devin lead off with? Like, is he so committed to the rising outside move that that's what he opens up with? I mean, I think we would say that that's his ace right now. But what happens if he leads off with that and Gennady can press it, in round one? Like, a lot of it is going to have to do with how long does it take? Like, if Gennady can transition to a press and really blast through it, now that round two is more interesting, in that what is Devin going to do? Because Gennady hasn't been gassed yet. Really, I look at it and I think to myself that Devin has to find a way to put miles on Gennady's arm before he can use any type of versatility. I think the versatility's there. I think we could see the match in a hook, but it has to be at a strategic point for Devin to have success. And that's what makes the match so interesting to me. I think it's going to be Devin searching for a way to make it an endurance battle. And if he finds that in round one, we might see a 3-0. But if he doesn't find it till round like 2 or 3, now we're in some weird, murky, muddy water place, which is going to be super entertaining.
Yeah. I also think that Devon is the favorite to win this match, but I think we are going to see pins both ways. I don't think Gennady is going down 3-0. Because someone who has a really strong arms and someone who can, like Hermes Gasparini, when Hermes beat Gennady at King of the Table, he took him immediately to the defensive side. Devon cannot do that. Even
Right.
against Prudnik, Devon went like almost to the pad, maybe 3 inches away from the pad. So I think almost everyone like who is strong enough, who is like top 10 in the world, they can take Devon to this side. Even John Brissing did that. I know now it's a completely different Devon, but it is possible, and almost everyone who is at the top level has done that. And once someone who has a great flop press gets you here, I think if he's able to stand up and press, I think it becomes really difficult for you to stop.
Yeah.
But doing that 3 times, that's a big question. Doing that 3 times.
That's the thing. If the gap is not big there, like it was with Devin and Levon, and even that gap being Devin gave Levon so much credit, but even in like round 2 or whatever, we saw that, kind of almost close, like
First round.
Yeah, first round. Yeah, we saw it like, it's right there, and that's Levon. So if Gennady has to work his tail off in the first round, then I think Devin's options open up.
Paul, Devon is the kind of a guy who never gives any excuses like after losing. But the thing, maybe later on, like after probably 5, 6, 7 years, he'll say that, well, I had a surgery in my elbows around that time. Like everyone does that. But immediately for let's say at least for 5, 6 months, he's not going to give you any excuse after the match. And the way he said, Devon is like a pro arm wrestler. He knows what he can or cannot do on the table. When he saw that King's move slightly like 5% work in that first round, he went to Levan, he tapped him on his chest, and he told him that I'm going to beat you. So he must have felt something, and he must. It's clear to understand his mentality. It's easy to understand that he must be regretting that bicep tear, and that doubt is still somewhere in his mind. Like, I could have done something if I didn't tear my bicep. But if he says that publicly, it is going to sound like an excuse. That's why he never talks about it.
Well, he was like, when I talked to him one on one, he was actually the polar opposite. Like, there wasn't like, "Yeah, I'm just not talking about it." He gave so much credit to Levon.
Yeah.
Like, it was exorbitant. He was like, "Yeah, there's no like amount of training or pancakes that could have been ingested in that time that would have changed anything." He was that good. You know what I mean? And the interesting thing about the bicep tear is, I think some people don't know, they think it happened when he opened up, because normally that's what you would think. He said his bicep tore statically in the setup. He felt it go zip in the setup, which he thought, he also seemed to find that very impressive, that somebody can tear your bicep in the setup right at the go.
Right at the go, yeah.
Yeah.
Andreas is saying he gives excuses few weeks later. That's why I said that you'll not hear any excuses from Devin, at least for a few months after the match has ended. And
Okay.
Paul Italia Cigar with the $2 super chat. Paul's traps have their own room at home.
I got him hidden.
So
Not
prediction, Paul, prediction. Who is going to win?
I got Devin, and I got Devin in a prediction. I'm predicting it 3-1. But I'm also like rooting for a war. You know what I mean? Like, I'm rooting just for like the best match ever. You know, like, I would love to see 3-2 either way, just like insanity. You know, like both guys like leaving it all on the table. But I think Devin is the 3-1 favorite, and I think the first pin probably comes in the first round, if it comes at all. And then at that point, Devin starts to put the bleed on.
So I think that's about it. We have discussed all of the matches. Once again, guys, great pay-per-view card. One of the best ever. 11 matches, $17. I think you should definitely purchase it. Link is in the description. And Engin is going to be a happy guy once again. Like, I remember after East versus West 5, like how happy it looked, like as if he almost wanted Devon to win. When Devon beat Prudnik, he was the happiest guy in the world. And people say that Engin hates Devon. And I was like, did you see his happiness? To me, it looked like he hates Prudnik, the way he was enjoying Devon's victory. But because the event ended and it was overall happiness combined, it looked like all of that happiness is because of Devon's victory. But it was combined, like, because of the entire event.
Well, Angan has to have an emotional dump after that thing ends. You know, I can only imagine being in shoes, stress, and, you know, finding out the day of, people probably reporting to him pay-per-view numbers, so he finds out if he doesn't lose his house or not. You know, like, you can imagine what's going through his head. So, yeah, let's buy this pay-per-view up and support this guy for everything he's doing for us. He deserves even more than that. I'm gonna buy it twice.
Yeah, Engin is renting the house. He doesn't have a house.
No, that was a figure of speech anyway.
Yeah. Like he mentions it every time.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, then he thinks they can't take it from him.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, Paul. I think that's about it. And thanks for the chat, for the awesome comments. This is talking with Neil. Andreas, because of John's too, it will be punishment. All right. Thanks, brother. Thanks. It was awesome,
All right,
guys. Please subscribe to Paul. How many subscribers do you have?
I don't know, like 7,500 or something. I don't know. I got to be more active. At the end of the day, I got to be more active.
Can you check right now in your phone in the studio? Let's at least 50 subscribers, 126 watching. I'm quite sure maybe 30, 40, at least 30 of you have not subscribed to Paul. We need to get the subscribers up. And you guys tell Paul, go to Paul's channel. I've suggested him many times to create a community post like Q&A. I've done 4 parts of Q&A. And Paul doesn't do that. So you go to his channel, you spam in the latest video comments, and tell Paul to do the Q&As. Like, that would be good. Like, you don't need to do any editing. Maybe take screenshots of the comments that you're answering, and that's all. You'll be good. In about 30 minutes, you can upload the video.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to doing it. It's just like, I usually have more fun going on other people's channels, not being stressed out about the technical aspects. Hold on. Yeah, I have 7,370 subscribers.
So at least 7,400 in maybe 30-40 minutes from now, because more people will be watching this now. So thanks, brother. Thanks for joining. 1 hour,
All right,
30
thanks for
minutes, like
having me.
probably the longest live stream that we have done together.
Good, good. Hey, thanks for having me. Hopefully, we get to see you over in Turkey. Get your passport going, and let's get over there. We'll make
We'll
some
see.
content there.
We'll see. Thanks, brother.
All right, buddy.
Clerks93 saying, where's the ad? There's your ad. Pradeep giving his guest shit lol. Like when? How? Paul Linn is an acid block, one of the finest, and the man works hard. Not yet. Pradeep flexing on Paul. Am I missing something here? Like what did I say? What did I say? Yeah, if Paul wins, I will sub. Good show. Thanks, brother. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to the chat. I apologize. I wasn't able to read all the comments because it is not really possible when the guest is on. But I'll try to read some of them now. Maybe for 5 minutes, maybe less than that. Derek needs a win. Boy Clerks 93. Wiss. Neil, give me $10. Give my $10 back. Warren, thanks for the massive super chat once again. Andreas Clerks 93. So guys, become a member of the channel if you can. One membership was gifted today, which is awesome, but if you want all of your comments to be read, not only in the live stream but also in the videos, regular videos, please consider joining as a member. And I thank you very much for watching. If you're going to pull in Pro Punja League, I'm going to commentate Jerentila. I'm going to commentate live commentary, arm wrestling news, commentating for Pro Punja League, but it will be in Hindi. It will be in Hindi. In August, probably. August it is. So I will not be competing. Like, I cannot compete. My level would be probably, I'm guessing, if I train for a month or two, I can give fight to 60 kilo guys in India. That's like what, 130 pounds? A little bit more than that. While weighing like 85 kilos. And that is also a big maybe. I'm not sure about that. I need to train for that thing as well. Jai Hind, Andreas. Jai Hind. Bye.